For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace, justice, and the Old Republic. Before the Dark Times, before the Empire.
Hi everybody, it's Larry Wampa here, and it's time for another video rant. But this time, I want to talk with you about something a little more serious. Over the years, I have read and heard about the great Luke Skywalker and the honored Jedi Knights. What do we know about the old mentor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and his young apprentice, Luke Skywalker? Are they really the heroes that we have been told they are? Let's take a look at this young hero of the Rebels, a group of terrorists, I might add. Who is Luke Skywalker? Where did he come from? How did he get here? Luke Skywalker, an orphan, raised by his uncle and aunt on the backward planet of Tatooine. But do we know anything about Luke's real parents? The Rebel Alliance has went to great lengths to hide his past. It is believed that Luke was an offspring of former Jedi Knight and sand hater Anakin Skywalker, a bastard child raised as a slave on the very same planet of his son, Tatooine. Anakin's owner, a local junk dealer, sold him off to a Jedi Knight, an old man in his late 50s. Yep, a 50-year-old Jedi Knight came to a lawless planet to buy a small child. Some say he freed the young Skywalker, but if you really wanted to free the boy, why not leave him with his mother? Why not free his mother also? Are you telling me this Jedi doesn't have enough power within the Republic to free her also? Also doesn't seem like Anakin's really all that free. He was like 9 and taken away with an old man. According to some Gungan history, this Jedi, known as Qui-Gon Jinn, was soon killed and the boy was raised by the Jedi Order. What do you think happened to this slave boy that was sold to this 50-year-old man? Hold on tight to your lightsabers for this one, guys. This young boy, Anakin Skywalker, is believed to be Darth Vader. That's right, the second head of the whole Empire, Darth Vader himself. So this Jedi rips the boy from his mother, takes him to live with other Jedis, and the boy becomes the notorious Darth Vader. Can you blame him? So Darth Vader had a child, and the legend goes that this child was taken from him by who else? The Jedi Knights, and sent to live with Darth's uncle and aunt. Man, these Jedis love taking kids from their parents, don't they? So Luke grew up with his uncle, who locals often call a drinking man, and his aunt, who was often referred to as a simpleton. His father, Anakin, or Darth Vader, broken-hearted for his son, I'm sure, helped build the Empire and restore real freedom to the galaxy. Locals often refer to Luke Skywalker as a dreamer, a silly heart, who never could keep his mind on where he was or where he was going. We talked to a local barfly, Wendy, about Luke Skywalker.
Luke Skywalker? Oh sure, I knew Luke. He was kind of a quiet guy, kind of whiny. He always talked about joining the rebellion, fighting the Empire, or going on about buying the latest power converters.
The rebels that Wendy speaks of is a small group of terrorists that have value to take down the Empire, no matter how many lives are lost. This Luke Skywalker, the dreamer, used to sneak away to the wastelands to kill small desert animals in his T-16 Skyhopper. I guess he wanted to pretend they were part of the Empire. Why does Luke hate the Empire so much? Could it be that the second man in charge of the Empire is his own father, who Luke believes abandoned him? Could this have driven his hate for the Empire? It does seem like he had a lot of hate for something that most 19-year-olds know little about. Luke and his uncle seem to always have conflict. Released documents show that local law enforcement would drop by the Lord's home about every other season. What would Luke and his uncle fight about the most?
Oh yeah, those two. They would always get into it late at night. Luke always was upset and wanted to go off and fight the evil empire, as he would say, and his uncle was always drunk and wanted Luke to take over the family farm. The local authorities would often show up, but most of the time Luke would run off in his T-16 Skyhopper, and Owen would crash over at his buddy Skillet's house. That is until he sobered up.
The last time there was a reported fight at the Lars home, it was after Luke witnessed what he called a great war battle taking place high in the sky above their home. He was overly excited and kept going on about the battle and how he was going to join the academy and jump ship and join the rebellion and fight the Empire. And of course, his uncle wasn't having any of that talk. So what happened after this fight? Well, locals say early the next morning they saw Luke leaving with 2 new droids headed out to the wasteland. And who lived out that way?
Tusken Raiders.
Yes, lots of them. Lots of Tusken Raiders. Don't forget Banthas. We got Banthas too.
Well, yes, Tusken Raiders do. But also lived out there was an old hermit named Ben Kenobi. Now this is where the story gets very interesting. Who do you think this Ben Kenobi is?
Belloc.
A few years ago, a trunk was found in Ben Kenobi's former home. Inside this trunk was a Jedi Knight's robe and many other Jedi propaganda. The Jedi was believed to have been taken out by the Empire about 20 years before. Could this Ben Kenobi been a former Jedi in hiding? Well, that seems likely. Also in this trunk was found a photo of 4 Jedi Knights. One of them appears to be the Jedi that fought Anakin Skywalker, and the other seems to be missing Jedi Master Yoda.
The Jedi Master Yoda went missing about the time the Emperor announced the First Galactic Empire. The interesting thing is, about the same time, a friend of Yoda, a Jedi known as Obi-Wan Kenobi, also went missing. Unlike most of the other Jedi Knights, Obi-Wan Kenobi was never officially counted on the Imperial's list of captured or killed Jedi Knights.
Could this Ben Kenobi be the missing Jedi Knight known as Obi-Wan Kenobi? Kenobi isn't a very common name, at least not here on Hoth. Who was this Obi-Wan Kenobi? Well, it seems he was the property, or as the Jedi Knights called it, the Padawan of the Jedi Knight Qui-Gon Jinn.
The Jedi law stated firmly that each Jedi would be allowed only one boy to live with him, or as they called it, one Padawan per Jedi. However, it seemed, at least for a little time, Qui-Gon Jinn had 2 boys, Anakin Skywalker and an older teen Jedi, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
When the Jedi Qui-Gon Jinn was killed by Sith Lord, Anakin was given to Obi-Wan.
On behalf of the First Galactic Empire, we would like to point out that Emperor Palpatine or any Sith Lord has never bought, taken in, or even raised a child, unlike the Jedi Knights. Thank you. We now return you to your video.
Luckily, a few years later, Anakin Skywalker escaped the Jedi Order, joined Emperor Palpatine, and started the First Galactic Empire, and outlawed the Jedi Order. Getting back to Luke Skywalker, he used to hang out in the wasteland a lot, often alone. Could he have been hanging out with the former Jedi Obi-Wan Kenobi? Maybe he was Obi-Wan's so-called Padawan and was being indoctrinated by the Jedi Knights. Could this have fueled his hatred for Darth Vader, his father, and the Empire? A few hours after Luke stormed out of the Lars home that early morning, Uncle Owen and Aunt Peru was found burned to a crisp at their home. Luke was nowhere to be seen. A local firefighter was first on the scene.
In my 87 years of a Tatooine firefighter, this was the most gruesome thing I ever come across. We got there about noon, but it was clear the bodies had been burning for some time, at least early morning since the sun rose.
Was the fire at the Lars homestead the only strange fire to be found that day on Tatooine?
As we were fighting the fire at Laura's home, we got a report of a 511, and witnesses claimed to see an old man and a teenage youth burning a pile of Jawas.
Did Luke kill his aunt and uncle and then flee to the wasteland to team up with Obi-Wan Kenobi? That seems very likely.
Yes, I saw the chaps, Luke and the old man, Kenoba. They came into the cantina. Luke was clearly underage, but the cantina isn't the kind of place that cares about all that. Long as you're not a droid, we can't have those kind here, am I right? Anyhow, they were not even here 5 minutes before they got into a fight with some others.
I will never forget that day. I lost my arm that night, but my best friend, he lost a lot more than that. I saw Luke at the bar. We thought he was too young for a place like that, and I told him, I don't like you here, but all he said was, sorry. And then his partner, the old guy, he got really jealous and all of a sudden a light beam appeared from the old man's hand. Before I knew what was going on, my buddy was laying on the floor cut right down the middle of his body, and my arm was laying right next to him. They both had kangaroos loose in their top paddock if you ask me.
The light beam that was reported at the bar fight is called a lightsaber. This was a calling card for all Jedi Knights. They didn't go any place without it. The only way Ben Kenobi could have a weapon like this was if he was in fact the missing Jedi, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Before they left the cantina with Han Solo, a local handyman, Greedo Johnson, was also killed. However, no witness can actually claim who shot first. This puts the total death by either Obi-Wan Kenobi or Luke Skywalker within a 24-hour period at 12. After they leave Tatooine, history of the events get foggy. We don't hear about Luke Skywalker again until a few days later. He is now an X-Wing pilot for the Rebel Alliance. It is Luke Skywalker's X-Wing that fires the shot that destroys the Empire's Peacemaker base, which the Rebels nicknamed the Death Star. After that, a lot of what we hear about Luke Skywalker becomes myth, legends, and rumors. Luke Skywalker becomes somewhat of an anti-hero for the rebellion.
Luke Skywalker? I thought he was a myth.
Many even believe Luke was on the second Death Star and killed the Emperor and Darth Vader with his own bare hands right before the rebels blew it up. If you ask me, that seems a little far-fetched. There is even a rumor that the Princess of Alderaan, Leia Organa, is Luke Skywalker's sister. That's for a whole nother rant. On a personal note, my uncle Jerry Wampa once ran to Luke Skywalker on Hoth. Worried that Luke could get frostbitten when the temperature started to drop, he dragged Luke to his cave. He hung up Luke to let him sleep and then started to cook him some tauntaun meat. That's just the kind of guy my uncle is. Well, as he was preparing the tauntaun meat, Luke Skywalker woke up and then snuck up behind my uncle and cut his arm off. With what? A lightsaber, a Jedi Knight's weapon. My uncle welcomed Luke Skywalker into his cave, saved his life, and how did Luke repay him? He cut his arm off! Some hero! So what do you think? Is Luke Skywalker a hero? Are the Jedi Knights heroes? Or just boy kidnappers with a license? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And until next time, this is Larry Wampa for StarWarsJunk.net saying keep your cave warm and your tauntaun meat even warmer.
Next on Magnum, it's Higgins being hustled by a gold-digging hussy. Is Magnum losing his mind? There's action, surprises, and fireworks in paradise on Magnum PI. Next.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.